Kotaku does not want Wolfenstein II to make you feel sad.
No, not at all.
This is H4G Gaiden. I'm Tony.
This is Richie.
H4G Gaiden is our sideshow where we talk about gaming news, gaming topics, and kind of whatever is on our minds at a given time.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We're a blank slate. Today we're going to be talking about an article written by Ethan Gach titled "It Might Be Time to Rethink Difficulty Menus," and it focuses on Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. So the first paragraph is, and we'll show an image here, this is the difficulty menu for Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. And it called back to the original games, which showed up in the new order as well. The menu's telling you only babies play the game on easy. It's funny on the surface, but also an insidious kind of peer pressure. Don't listen to it. There's another paragraph here, and of course we'll put a link in the description below so you can read the whole thing without us sort of paraphrasing and potentially taking bits out of context, although this is essentially the idea of the article. But another paragraph says, sticking a bonnet on BJ and infantilizing the player by analogy isn't exactly an invitation to explore playing Wolfenstein 2 differently. Even just calling one difficulty setting normal implies the other are deviant. So, I started playing Wolfenstein the new Colossus literally an hour or two ago. And personally, I was tickled that they had these settings because it was like the original ones. I thought it was hilarious. My wife was with me. She also thought it was hilarious. And I'm going to be 100% honest, I haven't played a first-person shooter since the BioShock series. Like when BioShock Infinite came out, that's the last one I played.
Like 5 minutes of Deus Ex.
Yes, that's true. When we did our review, link in a card above, baby. So, been a long time. I kept getting my...
Deus Ex is also like FPS light.
Yeah. There's other things going on. But point is, I started playing Wolfenstein 2, got my ass handed to me over and over and over again. I was getting used to the game. I turned it on to the lowest difficulty, thought it was funny, no shame, fully plan on increasing it as I get better at the game. But I don't care. It doesn't matter to me that it's on the lowest difficulty setting. And I would also argue that in order to feel peer pressure, they would have to be, like, peers that know about it. All of you know about it because I'm telling you, but this is a single-player experience.
And I think part of where this comes from the writer's perspective, and I think there's a lot that needs to be rethought about difficulty settings, because I've always kind of hated them, and especially, like, the super high difficulties where basically maybe they throw in a couple more enemies, but more often than not, they just give the enemies an awful lot more health.
They're like bullet sponges.
Right.
Yeah.
I generally don't find that very fun, so I don't play games that way. Mm-hmm. But especially when he talks about, like, calling one normal, implying the others being deviant, I like to know which difficulty setting the developers had in mind when they were balancing the game.
Sure.
And I think normal communicates that pretty well. So I think that's full of it. But what I was really trying to get to when I started talking, and I'm very bad at actually getting to that point right off the bat, and I'm proving that right now. But I feel like this is something that's going to rile up people who are more active in the gaming community than those who are not, because I avoid gaming communities like the plague.
Even the H4G gaming community?
No, not that one.
They're okay.
They're okay. But, like, with a lot of games, there's so much of the get good bullshit,
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you come on to some of those message boards to try and get some, like, tips to try and help you understand how to play the game, they'll just be like, well, you just got to get good. So I feel like he's kind of taking those people's attitudes and posting them on Bethesda. Because I mean, yeah, they put a bonnet on BJ, and I think it does kind of communicate on some level a little bit of wussitude, but I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wolfenstein series is all about kind of that kind of attitude,
Yeah. It's a how to best describe
like,
it.
Look at the other difficulty settings that it offers you. Like, can I play daddy? Don't hurt me. Bring 'em on. Do or die. Call me Terror Billy. I am death incarnate. Mein Leben.
Yes.
I mean, it would be one thing if only the lowest difficulty was a novelty setting that made you feel like a little wussy bitch.
Yeah.
They're all characterful titles that are far more dramatic than they really are.
Yes, it's just everything is just an explosion of ridiculousness. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to read another sentence from this review here. It says, in a game that celebrates difference and diversity, as in, you're fighting the Nazis obviously oppressed every minority you could possibly think of.
Except for the Aryans.
Exactly. There's a father figure in this that, his wife is Jewish and he insults her for being Jewish. He drops the N-bomb multiple times and you're supposed to despise him. So that's kind of what he's referring to, is that it is pro-diversity. So jumping back to it, it says, in a game that celebrates difference and diversity, moralizing the difference around the struggle, easy equals lazy / bad, hard equals virtuous / good, feels archaic. So basically, what he's saying here is he's drawing a moral equivalence between, like, dropping the N-bomb and the menu, effectively. Because what he's saying is the opposite of that, as in celebrating diversity, is the opposite of the menu, right? So, which is insane. Which is totally ridiculous.
The game is ableist. It's discriminating against people who aren't as good at games as the people who play the highest difficulty, whatever it was named again.
Yeah, I suck at games. I don't care.
I mean, why does the game need to tell you how to play it? You play it the way you want to play it. I don't know what else to tell you. Sometimes in this world you have to have the strength of character to do what you want the way you want to do it, in a way that makes you happy when it doesn't hurt anybody else, and just recognize that that's fine.
Yeah.
And the people that give you shit for it are just full of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got shit to give. That's why they're giving it to you.
I don't feel offended by the developers, by playing on a lower difficulty level, but one could even think of it as sort of a tough love sort of situation where it's like, you could do better. And, maybe I will. And eventually I'll get there, and I'll feel sort of a sense of pride that I've upped the ladder a little bit. Not an incredible sense of pride because I don't care. Whatever. It's a game. But
and I would say that if this author wants to criticize Wolfenstein for having this inconsistency of tone where they celebrate diversity in culture but don't celebrate diversity in
difficulty,
game ability, I guess. I don't really know how to express that well.
Yeah.
But it's also really odd that he's complaining about them telling him he's a baby.
Yeah.
And then he's whining for like 2 whole pages about the mean developer people. They made me wear a bonnet so I could play the game on super easy.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody made me wear the bonnet except for me because I'm bad. I wasn't bad at it. But, I mean, just to go back to that point and the point that I made earlier, it just seems like such an insane stretch to say that if you are creating a menu that pokes fun at people that aren't as good, that means you are like one of them. Almost. Like, he doesn't quite go out and say that, but just that sentence, in a game that celebrates difference and diversity, moralizing the difficulty around the struggle feels archaic. Like, it's not quite that connection, it's not quite that moral equivalency, but it's effectively juxtaposed, or essentially juxtaposed. I just find that insane. Like, one thing I do agree with him on, that we actually talked a little bit about earlier, I was plagued with the anxiety over whether the Wolfenstein II I experienced would be the, quote, real one or not. Now, I've never been plagued with anxiety in a game necessarily, but certainly different difficulties will give you, in some cases, different levels and layouts and progression, that kind of thing.
Right. And I mean, if you're actually worried about that, I'm fine. But I don't think that's what he's actually worried about reading the rest of the text of the article.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be that anxious about it, there's an easy solution. It's called, like, the internet. You could go on it and look up to see if there are any like level restrictions. Back in the day, if you played certain Contra games on easy, you couldn't get past a certain point or whatever. You know what I mean? And that would suck, getting to the end and being like, oh man, I don't get to see the real ending or whatever. But
or worse yet, you see an ending thinking it's the real ending and it's not.
Ooh. I mean, if you're going to be playing a game and you're getting like if you're quote plagued with anxiety, like if I'm assuming he actually wasn't, but if you were literally
why would you assume that?
Well, maybe it was.
Good God, you're just like
I'm one of them.
You're disempowering his mental disorder.
Jeez. Okay. But okay, so let's say you're literally plagued with anxiety, then you shouldn't be playing the game because it's a game. The only kind of anxiety I want to feel in a game is the anxiety given to me by the game due to tense situations, tense firefights. Maybe I'm playing a horror game and a zombie jumps out and I have anxiety over that, but that's a good, exciting anxiety. If it's legitimately giving you anxiety while you're playing it, then maybe this isn't the game you should be playing. If you hate the experience, then it's not for you.
Right.
What else can I say about that? I mean, does that point kind of make sense, or am I just being crazy here?
I mean, I've met a lot of people who've played a lot of games that they don't really like because they're supposed to,
What do you mean? Like you
just like a game gets a reputation and they feel like they're supposed to like it, so they try and force themselves through it,
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, like, I feel like time is so precious,
Well, you have a baby.
Yes, time is extremely precious. So when I'm playing a game, if I don't like it, I give it maybe another hour, and I stop. Because I got such a backlog that I don't have time. Like, and by another hour, I mean another hour spread out over like 4 days. Because that's how much time I have to play games, right? So if I'm feeling genuinely plagued with anxiety and it's ruining my experience, I should either A, look it up online, or B, that's not the game. Not to circle that point over and over again, but it just seems odd to me.
It seems archaic, really.
Yes, archaic.
Arcadic.
So there is a part here in the article where the author mentions some alternate ways to do game difficulties. I don't think necessarily directly in relation to this game, but just in general. The first one being, I'm here for the story, then I'm here for the challenge, I'm here for a second and harder playthrough, I'm here to take photos, and then this one's a paragraph essentially. I want to play with the settings and I'm okay if that breaks things. Obviously it's not a paragraph, but it's like that's a long difficulty setting.
Normally I have to go into the game I turn on debug mode to get shit
do
like
all
that available.
Yeah, exactly, right? Richie, what do you think of this alternate?
So I think it's a fine proposal, and I've definitely seen games that do offer that sort of striation, but it's just a reskinning of the old difficulties. I'm here for the story is easy mode.
Yeah.
They're not saying it to you, but you can tell they're saying it to you.
Yeah.
I'm here for a challenge. Okay, well that's normal or hard or something depending on whatever.
Yeah.
I'm here for a second and harder playthrough. Well, what if I'm here for my first playthrough and I want that difficulty?
So
I mean, there's no way to satisfy everyone. The whole point to having difficulty settings is to broaden the audience that can appreciate a game.
Exactly.
And there's not going to be one size all fits all.
Yeah.
One size fits all. That's the phrase I was looking for there. But there's never going to be a way to 100% satisfy everyone.
Yeah. My personal opinion regarding these difficulty setting alternatives is that they're perfectly fine, but they're kind of lengthy and
very boring.
They're very boring, and like you said, they're just trying to tiptoe around normal, easy, hard. Like, why bother? I feel like the only way to satisfy
I don't even get I'm here to take photos.
It's like it's so easy I can just snap photos. It's like I'm here leisurely. So that said, I feel like the only way to realistically satiate individuals that would find this offensive would be have a slide bar. Literally no words, and it just goes from like blue to like red, and like in the middle is like kind of like a gradient in between, and like just you would kind of know that blue is easy, but it doesn't say easy because that might offend you, and red would be kind of harder, but it doesn't say hard because that would offend you.
And
You know what I mean?
I think you kind of touched on the actual true utopia of difficulty settings, though.
Okay.
In talking about sliders.
Okay.
And maybe the thing that I find most frustrating about difficulty settings is that it is pretty much a catch-all. So you get to pick easy, medium, hard, whatever other gradations you have in between there. And it's one of the things that kind of bothers me the most about Civilization. Because
in general or the game?
The game.
Oh, okay.
In that it's one of the few strategy games that has kind of kept to that old model of difficulty settings where it's like it's settler, prince, king, emperor, deity, and in increasing difficulty. Whereas most more modern strategy games let you customize the difficulty.
Okay.
And flick different settings here and there. And Civ has some of that, but not as robust as in some more modern games. But I think that's more of what I'd like to see from gamer or game designer developers. That's the word I'm looking for.
There you go, developers, yeah.
More of what I'd like to see from developers is sort of moving to a difficulty model where you get to pick a few different things. Because sometimes I don't want every one of my bullets to do extra damage to the enemies. Yeah. I want maybe some aim assist or...
Sure. And that is actually an option in Wolfenstein 2.
It's in most.
And I do think it's a really intelligent idea. You know, I do think that it would be sort of very progressive to have difficulty where it's like, okay, you know what, I want the enemies to have 15% more health each. You know, I want my bullets to also do like, you know, like maybe 5% more, or you know what?
I want you to spawn the extra enemies from hard, but I don't want them all to have 200% HP.
Yeah, you know, you get the idea where it's like, you know, I want this many less health drops. You know, like that would be really cool. But I agree that would be a good idea, but for completely different reasons than why the author would think that that's a good idea. I feel like the author would think that's a good idea because anything else would be indicative of weakness.
And not only that, it's encroaching on your freedoms as a gamer to play the game your way.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, but like, I mean, something like that would really allow you to play the game your own way, which would be really cool. And I think that would be great for certain types of games. You know, I wouldn't mind that at all.
And I mean, you could still bundle it into like an easy, normal, hard sort of thing.
You could have both
with just some presets.
Yeah, you could definitely have both if you wanted or whatever. I do think that would be cool. I would actually be really neat to experiment with something like that. But I just don't feel like settings on a game are something to get so upset about. That said, we're talking about it. So I guess we did the same thing, didn't we? But we were just like so surprised, I feel, you know.
And disappointed.
Exactly.
It must have been a slow news day at Kotaku.
Yeah, well, you know, I do feel like the author probably did feel genuinely, probably did genuinely care about this topic, but I do feel that...
I think he cared too much.
Possibly, yeah, but I do think that a lot of authors, you know, are probably, I don't know this person's situation, but, you know, they have to think of a topic that's interesting. You know, and they have to think of a topic that are going to get people talking, and he did his job because we're talking about. So really, this article's a home run.
I feel like the title was perfect. It was all of the content that I struggled with.
It might be time to rethink difficulty menus, which is
great. Absolutely.
Great. But then it goes on to all the wrong reasons why we should rethink difficulty menus. Just to wrap around the whole thing just one more time, and I know I kind of beat a dead horse with this, I just think it's unfair to say that a game's impact regarding villainizing people who are racist is diminished because the game menu hurts your feelings. You know what I mean? Like, not that Wolfenstein is a very important game in, like, making sure that bigotry goes away. Like, it's not. Right, but when you start drawing those comparisons, like, it kind of is like, well, hang on, these are kind of two separate issues.
And how do we know that that isn't just the character expressing his anxieties toward his father?
That's true.
I mean, it says, "Can I play, Daddy?"
That's true, and he felt like a very, like, forced submissive position with his father, like a baby. So in reality, this is simply a callback to a situation that he feels deep inside, and I don't think it's fair for, us to be judgmental.
I agree.
So, I don't know how to go from there.
Judge not, lest ye be judged.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, that was.
And we have judged.
We have judged.
And we shall be judged. Judge us in the comments below.
I'm sure you guys will. I'm sure you have no problem doing that. That said, hey, thank you so much for listening to another episode of H4G Gaiden. We will see you on Saturday when our full regular episode premieres. And thank you again. See you next time. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a share, and we will see you guys next time.